One Reaction with Levy, and welcome back to the Daily One Reaction here on June 9th. And we got a big episode coming up. Let's get it started. We're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. Last night we had the Hawks Sixers as the first game. 76ers won 118-102. And I think Shake Milton, as most of the media is saying this morning, was terrific. And he led this bench unit. The bench was outscored for Philadelphia 32-0 heading into the second half. Shake Milton changed that whole thing around. Him and Dwight Howard basically helped this team get going, helped them beat out. I mean, the starter difference between both teams was plus 12. That's a concerning number for Atlanta. Yes, DeAndre Hunter was out, but that's a concerning number. And you also got really good production from Gallinari and Herter, scoring 20 plus. I don't think that's going to happen again. So there's a lot of just like concerning things for Atlanta. You got your two best bench players going, scoring 20 plus, hitting threes. You had your bench was unbelievable, and you still lost by 13 points because of your starters. And if you can't win with your starters, it's going to be very tough to win. They kind of changed things around with Trae Young, which was kind of cool. They put Simmons and Thibault on him the whole game, which I wanted to happen. I wanted more Thibault, but they limited him to 21 points, 1 for 7 from 3. And I also think the difference for Philly is the shooters. I mean, their shooters from last year to this year are completely different. Seth Curry is terrific. Shake Milton as well here in Game 3. I think Atlanta has that calling card, which DeAndre Hunter coming back. He's a great 3-and-D guy. He can help defend Harris or Simmons. He'll disrupt the Sixers offense. He will make them better. But it does feel like right now, after that Game 2 victory, I think if the 76ers get enough from the bench, and that's a big if, Simmons only had 4 points. So there's a lot of room for Philly to improve. You expect 35, 40 points from Embiid if he stays healthy. Simmons only produced 4. So, yeah, your shooting might be not as good, but I think Philly gets more production from Simmons, and I think the 76ers will be fine. I think it'll be a close series, but I still like the 76ers in 6. They just have too many calling cards and too many options if they can cut off Trae Young on the defensive side of the basketball. Clippers Jazz. This was a great game, the second game of the doubleheader, and despite it, Donovan Mitchell scoring 45, he leads the Jazz. So if you're thinking, okay, LA, they lost by 3. What can they do better? It's hitting 3-point shots. It's playing more together in crunch time. Reggie Jackson cannot foul out. And at the end of the game, why is Luke Kennard in at crunch time? Mitchell exploited him. And then they also had a timeout that Ty Lue didn't decide to call. It was a very close game. Utah struggled early. They got themselves back going late. So the shooting wasn't really like you can pick which way. I mean, the real difference for Utah is that you got Conley coming back, which is a calling card. He'll add defense leadership. He'll get the ball to Gobert. He was only 2 for 6 from the field, but I think that's a lot of credit to Ivica Zubac and DeMarcus Cousins, who surprisingly made an appearance in this game. He played really well. And if Conley's out again, I do like LA to win this game too. I think they played very hard. I think they match up well with no Conley. I think they do well against Gobert. I don't think Donovan Mitchell scoring 45. I don't think Luke Kennard's playing in crunch time. I don't think Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are as bad if Conley is out. But if Conley is in, I think it's a much closer, interesting adjustment type of game for both coaches. Because I just think if Donovan Mitchell, compare these two series, you got Dallas and Utah for two different opponents for the Clippers. If Mitchell plays like Doncic did against the Clippers, which he did in Game 1, and he probably could because he steps up in the playoffs, Utah's got a better supporting cast. They got better shooters. They got better bigs. They won't allow LA to drive to the paint. They got a point guard that can help lead the offense. So I think it's very tough for LA. If Conley is back, I think it's going to be very tough for them. But if he's not back in Game 2, I like LA to win, but I think it's going to be very tough. Right now, if you're telling me Conley is back after last night, I'm taking Utah in 6 or 7. They're just a better team, and they play more together right now. I trust the team that plays more together. I like the coach better. Quinn Snyder and Donovan Mitchell, I think they have a special relationship. You kind of saw that throughout the game. Mitchell, if he's the best player on the floor, I think the Jazz will be just fine. So I would expect the Jazz Suns to meet up. I mean, you got to give credit where it's due, and that's Ty Lue putting in Cousins and Zubac, having success against Gobert. That's going to be a key in Game 2 as well. Nuggets Suns tonight. Suns are minus 5.5, and I just think a healthy Paul, Booker, and Ayton will be very tough for Denver. They just don't have the options right now. You can't have Frank the Tank starting as your starting point guard. You need Murray back in this series. I think it's going to be very tough to beat, especially in Phoenix. It's just a very tough place to play with their defensive intensity, with Chris Paul being healthy. I just don't think they have enough options. I got Phoenix by 10 plus tonight at home versus Denver. Let's go to more NBA news. We had Indiana getting rid of head coach Nate Bjorkgen. 2 coaches in 2 years now for Indiana with 2 different philosophies. You had a defensive coach, and Nate McMillan, you look at him in Atlanta, he's striving. He's thriving. I mean, he's doing terrific there with Trae Young and everything, what's going on. And Indiana just got rid of him. They hired this new guy. They're getting rid of him. So who's making these moves right now in Indiana? I just don't let. What's the point of this? You already got rid of one guy. He was great on another team. Now you're getting rid of another. Like who do you expect to come in and transform this team? I don't know. And I think it was a mistake getting rid of Nate McMillan. And I think it's now a mistake getting rid of this new guy, Bjorkgen, because I don't know who you're going to get. You just don't have the talent right now to be a championship contender, so why get rid of the coach? MVP announcement. Yes, I agree that Jokic completely deserved it this year. Most durable, most complete player for 72 games this year. But I would like to see Chris Paul get more recognition there. I mean, he completely transformed the mentality and the direction of Phoenix. They've been a perennial non-playoff team. Now they're the 2 seed. You got to give Chris Paul more credit. I think he should have gotten more MVP votes, and I think he should have been a finalist for the MVP as well. NHL, let's move on. Lightning, Hurricanes last night. Lightning won 2-0 to win the series 4-1. And I think this series just shows you how much goaltending, experience, and defense mean in the NHL playoffs. I think these 2 teams were pretty even. Carolina had a very good offense coming in. I just think the goalies and defense were the difference. Vasilevsky played out of his mind. Defense led by Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough, unbelievable. The Lightning feel like a complete team right now, and I think they have a very good chance of going back-to-back. Will be very interesting who they play. I think they match up better with New York because they have the defense, but if Boston wins, I think that'll be a very good series. Golden Knights, Avalanche. Golden Knights won 3-2 last night. This was a game Colorado dominated the first 2 periods, up 2-0 heading into the third. Then Vegas scored 2 goals in 3 minutes and 4 seconds to tie the game up at 2 and then won in overtime. They didn't even play their best. Avalanche coming off of 2 losses. This felt like a game, okay, Colorado's going to come out, play their way, and win. They didn't, and that's because Nathan MacKinnon didn't really get going in Game 5. He hasn't been playing pretty well for 3 games now, and he's a top 5 player in this league. They need to get him going in Game 6, and I think the line reflects it. After this loss, I thought it was a must-win. It's now Colorado is now underdogs. They're like plus 285 to win the series. So it's going to be a very uphill battle for Vegas. And then we move to the next series. So it's the same position kind of. And then you have Bruins Islanders tonight, Game 6. Bruins are actually favored on the road in Nassau Coliseum because I think in Games 4 and 5, the Boston was right there and probably should have won one or both of those games. You could argue New York was lucky. I think the line reflects that sentiment. Next game, Golden Knights will be favored. This game, the Bruins are. So you can see the differences between those series. Right now, the line for the Bruins to win the series is only plus 190. You look at the Avalanche line, plus 285. There's a big difference there. That means I think a series is closer. I think Boston's within reach. I think if they win Game 6, which I think is very possible, I think they have the better offensive depth pieces on their team. And I think they can get to Varlamov a bit, who's been very hot of late. But I think Rask is just as good. I think Boston comes out. They can switch the series tonight. I think Boston wins on the road, and then it goes to a Game 7, and anything could happen. So I think that's why these 2 different series, it's going to be very close, but I kind of like Boston to force a Game 7 tonight in New York because I think they deserve to win either Games 4 or 5, maybe both. So that is the show today, the Daily One Reaction here on June 9th.